Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1835. The topic is mindset, and the title is The Human Element. Ooh. So Meredith has been she started her executive MBA program at the Kellogg School of Management in Miami. This is actually part of Northwestern University. The program is amazing. It's super fun. I am blessed that I get to hear about what she does all day and learn from some of the class materials. And there was a book I wanted to share with you. So Kellogg, just as a little FYI, kind of shout out to my wife, it's the number 2 business school for executive MBA in the world. We actually skipped the first one because the first one, we didn't like the culture compared to Kellogg. Kellogg was just amazing, absolutely amazing. They have phrasing of low ego, high impact. And we loved that because the people at the school seem to be invested into each other, and it's really focused on growing and building each other rather than competing with each other. And we just thought that was a wonderful feeling, a wonderful vibe, and very blessed and very happy that she got in there. So that was amazing. Now, one of the classes she's taking, the professor of the class, Lauren Nordgren, wrote a book, The Human Element, with a colleague, David Schoenthal. And it was just amazing book. We actually listened to the book in one whole go. It's like an 8-hour audio book or so. I think it might be 8 to 10 hours. We listened to the whole thing all in one go. We absolutely loved it. It was amazing. And the book is titled The Human Element. Lauren Nordgren, it's Loran. The last name is Nordgren, Nordgren. So The Human Element by Lauren Nordgren and David Schoenthal. Okay. I definitely would recommend you get this book. Absolutely. Absolutely loved it. The kind of like premise of the book, the idea of the book is overcoming the resistance that awaits new ideas. Now, this was a book taught in a business school, but there are just absolute amazing applications to us as individuals. The new ideas that can be that can face resistance. They can be business ideas, but they can also be us ideas. The new idea might be a new nutrition habit that you want to start. Maybe a new exercise routine. It can be any new health-based goal that we want to start and have become consistent, but yet it's going to face resistance. And it's going to face resistance within us. Not in others, not in our environment, but within us, ourselves. And I wanted to talk about 3 ideas from the book as a way to kind of entice you to get the entire book and read the book and listen to the book. But I definitely want you to get the book. I think it's an amazing thing. So, the 3 ideas I wanted to share. The first idea was backpack, and I'll explain that in a second. The second idea is the law of least effort. And the last idea is, what's your butt? Now, I've reworded some of these. So sorry, Lauren. But I reworded some of these to have an application in which kind of fits my verbiage in the way in which I talk to my clients. But the first idea is a backpack. And what I liked about this idea is these are things that I believe that we would believe that we know, but we don't do very well. And so it's helpful to hear them again and again and again because it brings to mind what we should be doing when we have a million other things on our mind. So it can just help refocus us and put us in a better mental state when starting a new activity, trying to take a new idea and put it into practical application. The idea of a backpack. We can think about all the things that we want to do in a day, all the things that we want to prioritize in our life. We can think of them as objects in a backpack. And we're just walking, we're going through life carrying our backpack. The reason why this is helpful to know, or helpful to visualize, is if we want to add something to our backpack, we have to make sure there's room, right? I can't just keep putting an endless amount of things inside of a backpack. Eventually, you can't close it, you can't zipper it, or if you do, the zipper rips or pops open. There is a finite amount that we can fit into a backpack. But we often don't approach our life that way. We tend to think that we can just add more and more and more and more and more. And then we wonder why we feel overwhelmed and we're not as consistent with certain elements as we would like to be. One of the main reasons why is that we're just overwhelmed. We have too many things in our backpack. So if you want to add something, you must first make room. Now, eventually in life, we know that we can be able to handle more. I have experienced that in business when I first started my business back in 2011. Now, I've been personal training since I was 18 years old, but I started Brutal Iron Gym in 2011, and I was extremely overwhelmed dealing with a million things, and it was pushing me to my limits. Nowadays, I deal with even more, lucky me, I deal with even more, but it's a much better emotional and mental and physical balance. I have been able to grow into the demands of the business. So we know that in life we can grow into the demands we place on ourselves. But that's something that happens over time. And how it happens is we add a small element and we become consistent with it. It becomes the new norm. Then we add another small element and we become consistent with it and it becomes the new norm. So we can get a bigger backpack. But that takes time and it takes something being added and have it be consistent. You can't just add it, do it for 2 or 3 weeks and have it fade away and think that you've increased your capacity. You haven't. And we have to be able to add it and sustain it for it to be able to, quote unquote, build our backpack. So this still means that when I add something, I need to make sure I make space for it. If I make space for it, I make it consistent, then in the future I can add another thing. So I can grow a bigger backpack. But it still is the same element required at the very beginning is you have to make room for the new thing so it can become consistent to become the normal thing. So the idea of a backpack is a great, great, great concept. Because when I think to myself is, man, I would love to do that. I have to then say, well, what am I not going to do? Because I tend to live with very little margin, and I would like to say I'm working on that, but I'm honestly not. So I do way too much and try to do everything I can. I like the chaos a little bit. I guess I'm addicted to it. But what I do tell myself now is I'm at the point of stuff in my life that if I want to do something new, I recognize that I will do less of something old. So what am I willing to do less of? There's a website in a business idea I won't share. I'll be greedy and hold on to it for now. But actually there's two. There's two business ideas that I would absolutely love to do. I think they would be super fun. And I've gotten confirmation from people who would be investors and would think that it was a great idea. And they are in the possibility of to do. The challenge is especially for one of them, I think it's a wonderful idea, but I don't want to do it. Meaning I don't want it to become my life. I love what I do. I love what I do. I get to help people every single day in new, fun, and exciting ways in areas and topics that I believe are meaningful. It's just I'm very incredibly blessed that I get to do what I love and I make a good living out of it. The one idea I think would be a really fun, great business. I've gotten confirmation it'd be a great business. People have offered to help me make it a business. But the downside is it would be my entire day. It would be what I would do from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. And it's not as interesting as what I currently get to do. So I'm choosing not to do it because I know in order for me to add that something new, I would have to get rid of something old. And I love the old. I love what I do right now. So I'm just keeping it, as an idea. But that's something I do ask myself all the time is, if I'm going to do this, what will I do less of? So how will I make room is essentially what I'm asking myself. And often, what we might find is a new idea or a new approach might seem fun and exciting, but it's maybe not as beneficial as the things we're already doing. If I think through my priorities in life, am I willing to level down one or two higher priorities to make this new thing a priority? Or when I compare and say, wow, really, for me to add this in, I have to eliminate that, and I don't know if I want to make that change. I have one client, she was doing Burn Boot Camp workouts in the morning. Now, Burn Boot Camp is like a group exercise facility. She loved it. She loved the community aspect. She liked the intensity of the workouts. She loved the feeling that she got from that activity. However, it wasn't helping her get stronger. It wasn't helping her build muscle, and her weight loss had kind of plateaued. She also had this desire, this goal, to do powerlifting. She liked the idea of powerlifting. She thought it might be fun to get stronger, to build a little more muscle, to maybe help it be a new motivator for change with nutrition, to help her finally get her weight to come down. What she found was when she first started, she tried to still do her Burn Boot Camp workouts in the mornings, 5 days a week, and then still add in powerlifting workouts in the afternoon on 3 to 4 days a week. And as you can imagine, it was a little too much. She has a full-time job. She has a couple kids, husband, family responsibilities, all the chaos of normal life. And to get 9 workouts in 5 days really wasn't working. It wasn't something that she could be consistent with. Something was missing, right? Like she was not going to get all of something in with all that going on. And what she was missing was her powerlifting workouts. We talked, and I asked her, I said, hey, even if powerlifting is the thing that has to go, what do you want to do the most? Like, what do you want the most? In a sense of, let's prioritize what is going on. If we're missing the powerlifting workouts to sustain what we have always been doing, the old, you're still only going to get what you were getting from the old. So if it's still miscellaneous food, but you're super consistent with Burn Boot Camp workouts, and powerlifting workouts are happening, or maybe they're not happening, you're still doing mostly what you used to do. You're still going to get mostly what you used to get. If you truly want to make a difference, we have to prioritize nutrition. Even if you were to stay with Burn Boot Camp as your workouts, you still have to eat better and more consistently if you want to lose weight. So nutrition has to be the main focus. Then she said that she would like to do the powerlifting goal. She really wants to do that. She believes that she could always come back to the Burn Boot Camp workouts, but she really wanted to try powerlifting to see how it went, like get that experience. So we talked about the fact that the morning slots were the most consistent for her. So therefore, powerlifting had to become part of that morning slot time. So we talked about maybe Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday would be powerlifting. Wednesday and Fridays could be Burn Boot Camps. So we talked about if we want to add something new, powerlifting, how are we going to make room? And we made room by splitting the difference, scheduling the powerlifting workouts, and then scheduling the Burn Boot Camp workouts. So that's what we want to do for ourselves. How we can apply this lesson in our life is the backpack concept. If I want to add something new, how will I make room for this? Too often we focus on how will I do this. But we also need to focus on and ask ourselves, how will I make room for this? The second lesson or concept from the book that I want to point out in today's podcast is the law of least effort. This is a very boiled down sense that we will always do the easiest thing. We are going to default to the easiest option. That's just the way we are. That's human nature. Good luck trying to fight it. We can definitely work on it. We can make some adjustments to it, but it's what we're always working on from, what we're adjusting from is that we tend to choose the option that requires the least effort. Think about when you get home and you're tired and you'd think, oh man, I should cook my own food, but I could go get fast food on the way home, or I can microwave this thing that I have at home. It's not an ideal food option. We would justify in our mind to be like, well, it's the same calories about as what I would normally eat, so it's not that different. So we start to justify it. We start to argue with ourselves to make it okay, to feel okay with the decision to choose the easier thing. That's what we do. We tend to favor the option of least effort. This is important to know because one of the ways in which we become more consistent with a new behavior is if we believe the result is bigger than the effort. If I told you that when you went home tonight, no matter how tired you were, if you cooked a meal of chicken and rice from scratch, like you cooked it yourself, that you were going to make $1 million. I'd pay you $1 million. You'd probably do it. You'd probably do it. If the winning result was $1 million and the effort was just having to cook some chicken and rice, you would cook the chicken and rice. You'd probably leave work right now and go cook the chicken and rice, right? The result is greater than the effort. But if I told you that, okay, if you went home tonight and instead of eating fast food, you made a meal of chicken and rice, you're gonna net by eating the healthier food option. You're gonna wake up tomorrow and you're gonna have 0.01% less body fat. You're like, well, that's not as fun. That's not as nice as $1 million. 0.01% less body fat. What is that? That's insignificant. That's what we would think. But if we did that 10 out of the next 14 days, all of a sudden we lost 0.1% body fat. We start doing that for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. All of a sudden we might start losing 1, 2, or 3% body fat. The challenge is often by us implementing an exercise routine, by us implementing a new nutritional habit, the result is usually something that we can't even quantify, that we can't even see, we can't experience in a singular moment. One healthy meal doesn't automatically lose 5 pounds of body fat. One workout doesn't gain 5 pounds of muscle mass. So the individual efforts tend to be greater than the result that we can see from the individual efforts. Now, if somebody's been lifting and exercising and eating healthy for 6 months, maybe they were able to lose 30 pounds. Maybe they were able to add 30 pounds to a squat, bench, or deadlift. Maybe they were able to drop 2 pant sizes, but yet they look and feel leaner, like bigger. They have better visible muscles. If we do it for long enough, we can see a significant enough result that motivates us to continue to do the habit. So it takes me 6 months to have a result that is greater than the efforts. And therefore it builds sustainability, it builds consistency. Because now the result is bigger than the effort. If that takes 6 months, how do we get to 6 months? How am I going to be consistent enough before I can see the results? It's very challenging because when we start anything new, especially a diet, especially training, the first steps that you take are a lot of effort. But we don't get to see the result. That is why we often don't feel motivated to keep up with high effort things in the beginning. Why we never make it to 6 months. Because we didn't see a result equal to the effort that we felt that we were putting in. This is important to realize, that the law of least effort, we tend to favor the easiest thing. This is important to know because I can then tailor the approach that I use. Rather than me starting with a very aggressive, very large effort approach, I can take a small effort approach. So when you think of, I'm going to cut out all carbohydrates, or I'm going to cut out all fats, or I'm going to switch from, a mixed diet to vegan, or maybe I'm going to switch from a mixed diet to a carnivore diet, where it's all meats. If we think of extremes, that tends to cause a large amount of effort. We have to change a lot of what we currently do in the way that we currently think. Can people start with big changes and sustain them long enough to see the big results? Yes, they can. People do it all the time. It's just not the norm, and it's not the large population response. It happens, but overwhelmingly it's more common that the larger the change that you try to make initially, the less likely you are to sustain that change. Because it's not easy. It's high effort. Again, the law of least effort says that we will be consistent with things that are easier efforts, lower efforts. So I shouldn't start a goal with a huge, big effort. If I'm going from working out maybe once every 2 weeks, and I'm going to say, I'm going to work out 5 days a week, that's very large. And it's unlikely that you'll be able to just flip the switch and be able to make that large of a change and have it be consistent. Maybe you can do it for a week, a month, maybe even 2 months. But it's unlikely that you're going to sustain that for long enough to start to see the results that are larger than the effort. That's why if you're working out maybe once every 2 weeks, say, hey, can I work out once every single week for the next month, for the next 4 weeks? Can I work out at least once every week? If you do that, you might then say, okay, for the next 4 weeks, can I work out twice a week? And if you set that as your goal, remember the backpack concept, how am I going to make room for that second workout? So the law of least effort tells us that we will always be more consistent with behaviors that have a lower effort investment. So when we want to make a change, try to find the lowest effort that you would need in order to facilitate some positive change. Because if you're consistent with that low effort and you're consistent with it long enough, you'll start to see a result that's larger than the effort. And that then motivates you to continue to put in more and more effort, as you would then see more and more results. So again, how can we apply this to our life? Start small. We might fear that starting small means that we will only achieve small. But starting small is actually the secret to achieving big. You start small to finish big. Because if you start small, you can be consistent enough to see results. Those results then motivate you to continue to put in more and more effort. consistently enough that the results grow bigger and bigger. The third concept from the book, what's your but? When you say, I want to eat healthy, but I want to exercise more regularly, but what's your but? Identify your obstacle. You might say, well, I want to eat healthier, but I have no time. Here's one from a client. I want to eat healthier, but I forget to meal prep. This is a little brutal honesty here, but I don't believe the issue is forgetting to meal prep. If it was that easy, you would just set a reminder in your phone. Why aren't we taking the necessary steps to remind ourselves? We likely remember hundreds, if not thousands, of things a day that are less important to us than trying to eat healthy. If we dig deeper, why am I okay with forgetting to meal prep? Why are you okay with forgetting to meal prep? Why isn't that bothering you enough to make a change? To change something in your behavior, something in your schedule that will remind you. Why isn't it important enough? So if we say I don't exercise, I don't work out because I don't have time, well, what are you doing with your time? Like, what are you doing in your day before you would ensure that you have the right food available, before that you would get in your workout? What are you prioritizing above healthy eating and consistent exercise? Do you manage to watch 30 minutes of TV every day, but yet you can't manage to work out for 30 minutes once or twice a week? Do you manage to swing by a fast food restaurant and instead of choosing the grilled chicken sandwich, you choose 2 double cheeseburgers? Why? Why do we continually choose things other than what we say are important to us? We need to dig a little deeper. We need to find the root issue. Are we afraid that we'll fail? Maybe you'll start to care more. You'll put in the best possible effort that you have, and it'll fail. That can be scary for a lot of people because if you know you could do more, but you're just not, you still have the hope that things can change. But if you truly try your absolute best and it fails, there's seemingly no hope. You've played all of your cards. You've done everything you can. And if that fails, what's next? Are you destined to be unhappy? Are you now stuck with absolutely no option to ever become better? That's sometimes a fear we have that we don't express. We don't really talk ourselves like in our mind. We don't talk it out. But that can be one issue for a lot of people is they're afraid to fail. And they don't realize that not doing it right now is failure. That's wild that's how the mind works. Oh, I could be doing it, so therefore, even though I'm not doing it, I'm not a failure. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not doing it, I'm failing. That's the way that works. If we're afraid to try our best, and if it were to fail, that we then have no hope for change. As much as I could try to say it now, and I'm going to say it, but I know it might not sink in entirely. There's no way you can fail. There's literally no way that you can fail. Because if you try your best and you don't get the result you want, you try something else. If that doesn't get the result you want, you try something else. You continue to pivot and try something new. You might say, I don't know what to try. Well, don't limit yourself to what you know. Read a book, watch a video, hire an expert. Expand beyond what you know. Try out someone else's what they know, right? Try out someone else's knowledge. If you're trying to lose body fat and you have tried everything you know, go to somebody who has helped other people lose body fat, whether that's a book, whether it's a video, whether it's an expert. Go to somebody who has done it, and preferably has done it for multiple other people, not just themselves. You want to find someone who's done it, dozens, if not hundreds of times, not once. They're going to know more. They're going to know more and more options that you can pivot to when one option doesn't work. So what's your but? I have no time. You have time. You're just using your time on other things. So pay attention to what you're using your time on and ask for everything you do during the day, is this more important than healthy eating? Is this more important than exercise? In this moment, should I be doing this or should I be doing exercise? Is this more important than exercise? Is this more important than my health? Is this more important than my blood work? Is this more important than being alive in the next 10 to 15 years? To share life with my loved ones? What's more important? Maybe I want to exercise or I want to eat healthy, but I have no money. Do you actually need money? Exercise, you just need yourself, your body. You can go for walks. You can do, walking up and down the stairs. You can do body weight squats. You can do push-ups. You can do sit-ups. You just need yourself. When it comes to eating healthy, it can be a financial challenge to get in an appropriate amount of protein. Protein's kind of expensive. Carbohydrates, super cheap. The protein is a little expensive, but I work with college students and people on low incomes all the time who manage to eat healthy. It can be done. If you don't know how to do it, there's tons of videos on YouTube. If you're a bodybuilder, for example, Universal Nutrition has a YouTube channel, and they have videos called Big on a Budget. So get on YouTube and search Big on a Budget, and you're going to see bodybuilders who talk about how to grow with only $50 a week or $100 a week. It can be done. Maybe you don't know how to do it, but someone does. These were 3 lessons, 3 ideas from the book that I thought applied amazingly well to the concept of trying to start a new idea in nutrition and training. The 3 lessons were backpack. Remember that to add something, you must first make room. Law of least effort. Make the effort less than the results so you can be consistent with it long enough to see the results. And then what's your but? Dig a little deeper. Identify the root of the obstacle in your way and work to address that specific issue. Okay, there's a lot of other great things in that book. The Human Element by Lauren Nordgren and David Schoenthal. I really think this would be a great book for everyone. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. Awesome. Okay, hopefully these were helpful lessons. If you have any questions, if you need anything, reach out. I'm always here and I'm always happy to help. If you have any questions or need anything, let me know in my email. It's brutalironjim@gmail.com. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. If you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on our website. If you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Jim. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.